Welcome to Flip It Furniture. My name is Amy, and today we're giving this nightstand that I got for free a makeover. This furniture came from Ashley Furniture about 15 years ago. Unfortunately, the only remaining piece is this nightstand. The first thing we're going to do is wet sand the top. The top is marble veneer. In order to get some of these scratches off, I need to wet sand it. So I just wet my sanding sponge with water, and then I'm going in circles to buff out the scratches. Now, it's also pretty cloudy because, it hasn't been like oiled or properly taken care of for the last couple of years. I want to make this baby shine again. So this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to buff the entire top with my sanding pad. I think it's about 180 and up. So you could see it makes like a paste. It is actually removing the scratches. It's removing a small layer on the top. So then once I'm done wet sanding, I just leave it for later. I'm going to clean the rest of my piece. I use my vacuum and I just clean all the drawers and the cubbies. I'm going to use a mixture of distilled white vinegar with water to clean this. I love it. It's super inexpensive. It's antibacterial. I mean, it cleans so well and it takes away some odors. So once I'm done with that, I'm going to lay down my first coat of paint. And I'm using Dixie Belle's Chalk Mineral Paint in the color Briar Patch. I never used this color before, and I just thought with the top having so much brown in it, I think a green would be perfect. And I did. I looked at so many different greens, and this is the one I chose ultimately. Now, you might have noticed that I did not prime this piece. I usually prime most of my pieces, but after doing this for so long, you get to know which pieces you have to prime and which ones you don't. And this, fortunately, is one that I don't have to prime. So it's like the best day ever when I don't have to do that extra step. And I love how easily the paint goes on when you don't have to prime because you're not putting it over a primer. So I had so much fun with this project just because everything went pretty smooth. And of course, as always, I have my water mister in one hand and I have my paintbrush in the other. I do this because I get a really smooth finish without a lot of brush strokes. It's barely any, honestly, you can't really see any brush strokes when you're using the water mister with the chalk mineral paint. So once I'm done painting the piece, I did 2 coats. I waited for it to dry in between the coats. I am using my water-based sealer in Satin because I want to add this decor wax. So I'm using Dixie Belle's Besting Wax in brown, and I'm using my French tip brush so I can get in all those creases. And then I have just like a sock that, a throwaway sock that nobody's going to use. To remove, once I add that wax, I'm going to actually remove most of it. I seal the piece first so that I can easily remove the wax. This wax is very different from any other wax because it is water-based. So I don't use it really to seal any pieces. Never. I've never used it to seal. You can use a water-based sealer over this wax. I just use it for the decorative finish. It's to, I just put it all over the place. Now I'm going to remove it and it's going to stay in the creases. But as you can see from this angle, look at the front of the piece and then the side. It darkened up the front of the piece. I do actually go back to the front and I remove more, but it did give it this a different tone. And I love the tone. It just kind of gave me some shadows. See how I do the side here? I did want to add it to the side too because I wanted the front to match the back, or the sides to match the front. So I just put it on and then I remove it, but some gets left in like a little bits of the grain and things like that, and it just has this, it casts like a little shadow. So this is a really good tool for like special effects. If you wanted to darken some areas on your piece, you just kind of play with it. You can, you know, use a sponge to remove it. You can wipe it around with a rag, you know, just experiment always. And now I'm sealing it with my water-based sealer. Because it's a water-based wax, I can do that. And then I'm going to use my vintage gold gilding wax in all the raised details and to make all of those raised details pop. And then, you know, I was only going to do the raised details, but as I went, I felt like, okay, I need to do more. So I ended up doing a lot of outlining, like those little windows in the drawer fronts. I did those too. And for this one, I went back and forth. On the more raised details, I used my finger. And then for the details that are not raised, I did use a brush. And that worked really well too. This vintage gold is so gorgeous. It has kind of like a coppery look to it, so mixed with that green and the top. This is, I have to say, one of my favorite pieces that I've done in a very long time. And for the top, I'm actually going to use Odie's oil to oil this and bring it back to life because there's so much cloudiness on it. And I do it just like I do a wood piece. I put my Odie's oil on there. You don't need to use a lot. Just make sure it's covered. And then I leave it for like 20 minutes to soak in, and then I'm going to buff it out. And it brings it right back to life, makes it shine. You remember what we had before? Here it is today. I had these knobs left over and I could not believe how well they matched the gilding wax. I have to say, I don't use gold a lot, but this piece really called for it and I love how it turned out. I went back and forth about whether I should paint the top or leave it as marble, but I'm so glad I left it marble. As always, if you enjoyed this video, I would love it if you hit the like button. If you're not already subscribed, hit subscribe and I will see you next time.